Okay, hello and welcome to the Black Box Podcast. This is another upload on the case of Missy Bevers, and the most recent one that I did was actually a four-part piece on the theory that Missy Bevers, the woman murdered in Midlothian, Texas in 2016, was murdered by a hitman. This one's going to be sort of a slightly different video because I'm still going through the information and I'm still trying and understand what was happening the way that many people across the world are in America and all around the world, really. So, and as time goes on, we sort of develop new feelings and we get sort of new theories and we get new leads, or just maybe the information can sort of hit us in a different direction. You see something in a different light. And that is very important with this case because, as I said in the first part of the last podcast, it was just sort of like this was one case that you stay with for a while and it still feels like you are going nowhere. You don't really get any sort of strong feeling in any direction. I mentioned that after 1 or 2 days with a lot of cases in true crime, you really get a feeling, even if it's not yet a theory. You really have a strong feeling that can almost put you down one way or another. And with the case of Missy Bevers, this one felt so difficult. And that is one of the big reasons why I promoted the whole theory that she was murdered by a hitman or professional assassin slash whatever, if you will, because this person was just so good at covering their tracks. This video is going to be on a different subject. This upload is going to be all about who is in the police uniform. And once again, this is really directed to people who are of more familiarity with the case already. And that's the question, though. Who was in the police uniform that was walking around the church the night that Missy Bevers died? And there has been this enormous debate over whether this is a man or a woman. And Missy's ex-husband now, Missy's widowed husband, is now saying that this was a woman. He believes very firmly that it was a woman. I'm going to disagree. The person in that police uniform is a man, so I believe. And the reason that I believe that is, I believe that this is a man who is of a little below average height, but still has probably a rather bulky build, probably has somewhat of a belly on him. Not too much though, but a little bit of an overweight man, probably between 5'2" and 5'7", only trying to go by the median. It's very possible that the person in that video could be as tall as 5'8" or 5'9", without even their shoes on, because they could never get a 100% confirmation on the height. They said that in one clip, they said that the height range is between 5'3" and 5'7". On another one, they said as much as 5 foot to 5'9". So it's probably closer to the taller end of the spectrum, to be honest. And this person, I think, is a man because what I believe is this person is wearing this outfit to completely hide all features. All features. I believe that they are wearing shoes that are too large for them, so that they are giving him that kind of awkward walking posture, and walking gait rather, not posture, but the posture is awkward, the gait is awkward, everything appears awkward. And I really felt that the first time that I saw this video. It was just like, these movements that the person is making really just do not feel natural. They do not appear genuine. It almost really just looks fake. And I'm not talking about the gait now. I'm talking about approaching doors and just pretending to be surprised. I'm talking about carrying a hammer around, giving a door a little tap with it, but really not that much. I mean, you're in a church by yourself, no alarm. You can smash anything you want. No, there's really just not that type of action. So, we really have that sort of very awkward, very abnormal, unnatural behavior, and I think all of it is connected. I just would say that this is a man in this very, very detailed and planned out costume who is trying to hide every single feature of their body. And this person has done this so well that they've even hidden their gender. And I just think that's so remarkable. Keep in mind, I'm coming at this from the theory that this was a professional hitman in the costume. And yes, I do believe it is a costume and not an actual police officer. And, someone was actually posting something very interesting about like this. There was a newscast, at least 2 of them that I've seen, where they said only certain people can buy and acquire police, either tactical gear or things with the police logo on it, such as the police vest that you see in the video. And someone was writing on YouTube about, no, that's not true. You can buy that on eBay for $20. And, I did some searches, and yes, you can easily find police vests on sale on the internet for a variety of prices, not only eBay, but also from a variety of online stores. So it's very possible for someone to obtain those without police identification. So that sort of theory that this has to be a police officer in real life is kind of out the window. Not that I ever endorsed it to begin with. And if you are listening to this podcast and you've made it this far into an investigation into the case of Missy Bevers yourself, you probably don't agree with that either. To keep going to the main point, I believe that this is a man because I was watching the Nancy Grace episode, and I absolutely despise Nancy Grace. She's a terrible broadcaster, but she said that if Missy Bevers were murdered by a woman, that would defy everything that we know about criminal psychology in relation to how women murder their victims. And it is completely out of the female profile to bludgeon someone, to beat someone to death with a hammer, to stab someone in the throat, especially with an object other than a knife. So that's very out of character for a woman in terms of the criminal psychology profiling methods. And, yes, it's possible, but that is one thing where I was just feeling from the beginning. I felt that spot on. I just don't think of that as a woman when it comes to your instincts, when it comes to those gut feelings. That, to me, that just does not seem like the behavior of a woman. Carrying a hammer around and then just puncturing her throat, chest, and head with the sort of claw end of the hammer or with the crowbar. That's very, very out of place and very, very abnormal for criminal psychology profiling. So that is one thing when I could not let it go. And, even someone who is just such a lousy broadcaster like Nancy Grace actually had a point I agreed with for once. The other reason why I would think that it is a man in the costume and not a woman is first instinct. When I first saw the clip for the first time, there was not a single impulse or hint or any feeling at all that that was a woman. And that is just, my pure first reaction. You watch the clip and no, I did not have a single doubt in my mind. It's like, that's a man. What are people talking about? That's a man, obviously. Yes, there's a little bit of a hip movement in one scene. And yes, there's the sort of awkward foot movements. But I've already said, I think that's intentional. It doesn't look like the person is altering their body when they are making the awkward movements, I think that the clothes are fitting them improperly and the shoes are fitting them improperly, so the entirety of the body is disguised. So the feet are disguised, so the walking gait is disguised, and you just can't really tell who that could be. Everybody on all the newscasts are saying, this person has a very abnormal walk. Shouldn't someone recognize that? Yes. Or the person is wearing absolutely improperly fitting shoes and they're distorting the way they walk, which is simpler. I mean, that goes back to my whole theory that this was a person who is a professional assassin who was hired by somebody to kill Missy Bevers. Because the thing that you just can't escape is it's all too methodical. This person knows way too much about security cameras, and this person knows way too much about how people are going to be processing the crime scene. This person knew way too much not to leave any evidence behind. And that's just be the theory that I was promoting in the earlier parts of the podcast. The other thing that really sort of struck me about this being a man is just the way the person is carrying the hammer, the way the person is approaching the doors. The hand movements seem very, very masculine. And I don't see a single feminine thing going on from the waist up. Look at the way the person is moving their arms. It's like, I don't know, that looked very masculine to me. If that is a woman in the costume, I will gladly admit that I was mistaken. If that was not a paid hitman, I will gladly admit that I was mistaken. But the real point is we need to try and figure out who was involved in the crime, who is that in the costume, who murdered Missy Bevers and why, and the only way we're going to do that is if we keep expanding the discussion, if we keep putting theories out there, and if we keep giving sort of reasons why we feel the way we feel about the case. What motivates us to have these theories? Not only what do you think happened, but what are the facts that support your case? And what are the feelings that you have that give you this theory? And even if you just want to say that it's a hunch or it's a gut instinct, I mean, I think that is something worth talking about. Because your first instincts in life can often be right, like that's what they tell us when we're younger, and sometimes that can be true. However, what's really important now is to just expand the discussion. People need to say what they are thinking about this case, and they need to start sharing ideas and information on it. And I would love to hear more about what other people are thinking. I would love to hear more comments, and I would just love to hear a discussion going on. Hopefully we can finally figure out who this is and why this happened and bring a perpetrator to justice. With so little information so far, and this is going to be the 5th upload that I've done on Missy Bevers, and we still do not even have a complete list of suspects that could be, questioned by the police. Yes, people are putting out their lists of who they think did it online, but the police have not made an arrest of a suspect, is what I wanted to say. Well, that's all for now, and everybody have a good night, and I will talk to you next time.